Okay, I'd just like to thank the panel, and I'm going to wind up in no more than 10 minutes, perhaps a bit less. I hope everybody agrees it's been a great summit, some really stimulating views, some good discussion, some good disagreement on some points. First one was a sort of personal reflection on what it feels like to be a CIO or an IT director. On the one hand, you've got your sort of right leg trapped in all this legacy, all the technology that makes the place work. It's good, it makes the place work. On the other hand, and this sort of reflects some of your questions, Mark, you've got these opportunities, these fantastic opportunities which may be threats, and the fear that somebody else will get there. And you have to move that. But all the time you're trying to go that way, your right leg is trapped in all the legacy. And, it's a really tough job because you've got to make the place work, you've got to keep everything going, and then you've got to stimulate all these great new opportunities. Now, I came up with 4 mega IT trends at the start, and I was sort of marking it as I went through, and they were cloud, big data, social media, and mobile. And I'm just going to whiz through the presenters, and I think we got a pretty good hit rate on those 4 actually going forward. But I'd add 2. One's a business one, and one's a techie one. I think that the first one came out of Tony's introduction, which is really, I think, the theme of his, being Director General of IATA, which is, we need to make the whole ecosystem work. Yes, of course, everybody, should compete and has to compete the hell out of each other, whether you're airports or airlines or alliances or IT suppliers. Yet competition is important, you've got to do it, that's there. But the basic business we're in needs to be joined up. It's about transporting people and their bags around the world and doing that effectively. And to do that, a lot of things have to join up. And, go way back, this business has been about that very funny word, competition and collaboration. You've got both of those things going on. And I think Tony's desire, is to recognize that, if we are to provide the customer service that people will expect, and that was a big theme coming out of a lot of these presentations, that our customers expect service now, we've got to collaborate. Come back to that. And then there was another one, which is a techie one, about web services, actually how web services working with working with the cloud, working with mobile, will make joining things up a lot easier. So I'm just going to whiz through the different presentations. So Tony, talked about the state of the air transport industry. I like crisis with bouts of calm, but he highlighted 3 things for IT: airline distribution, secondly, decision support, third, operational efficiency. Definitely, the data theme, the big data theme there in terms of decision support is absolutely there. And of course, you've got that big collaboration theme. Then Mohammed Al-Bakri from Saudi talked about, the enormous growth in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in terms of mobile, in terms of the amount of broadband coverage, a young population, average number of mobile phones, everybody's got more than 2, how mobile technology was really revolutionizing, how they do things, whether it's sales or check-in. And I know, from the on-air experience with SITA, that on-air really took off, first in Saudi, in terms of voice on board. So it's very interesting that, we then heard Alex talk about, mobile and social media, and then you've got Saudi talking about mobile and social media. So, I think, across the air transport industry, you've got those themes. And indeed, Mohammed was talking about the need for a collaborative environment to join things up, to make, the airline services work at the airport. Alex was typically and amusingly provocative, low-cost airline, but high service. Big emphasis again on mobile, big emphasis on social media. And I did like the idea that the IT department should get just 5% of the last aircraft order. I bet a lot of people in this room would settle for that one. I also loved his idea that there isn't a cap on the IT budget. You know, if you've got a good project, it pays back, and he did have some pretty tough benchmarks there, but if it pays back, you get it. You know, I think that's a great idea. I think he talked about need to get to market quickly. Very important technology. I think we all recognize that now. And I think he raised a really important point that the speed of technology in the internet, how fast that's moving now, feels a lot faster if you're a CEO than technology around aviation. And I think one thing that didn't come out of that was, and I was hoping somebody would say it, was actually, you know, that's what the cloud can do. That's what software as a service can do. You know, the ability to just turn on a call center from the cloud, the ability to take a lot of the services that you can get at an airport gives us that ability to move quickly. And I think that's one of the demands that, that airline IT faces, is it's getting more competitive, so CEOs are going to, and boards are going to want things faster. In the discussion, the need for common approach came out again. Then Peter Harbison talked about us after the break, and that really was all about big data. You know, he talked about data miners being after our gold, and the ability for people outside the air transport industry to take all that information that we've got, a lot of the information that we throw away. And that also was, of course, repeated in David Bullman's presentation. The feeling that if you come into this industry and you look there and you're just staggered, why aren't we using this information? Because in different industries, in media, in search, in retail, you know, this is recognized as being very, very important. And I think there was then a very healthy and reasonable dispute about actually, you know, how far you could take that. But I think it did seem that there was a consensus that actually there is something here that we do need to think about how we use data, how we put that customer data together. And it's not just about social media data, it's actually a lot about what we hold already in our loyalty programs. After all, the airlines invented loyalty. You know, how do we go to the next step there? How do we combine that with social media? Madame Zhong from Beijing also talked about her airport information service platform, how they pulled data together there, and actually how they were really using web services to, you know, join things up. Dr. Krieg from Frankfurt, again, he talked about how the technology, how the ability to use web services, service-oriented architecture, actually enables us to join things up. But to do that, and this was a really interesting point, that needs people who haven't cooperated before, and I think he cited 4 airports. There was Frankfurt and Munich, Schiphol and Madrid, who after all haven't exactly been best mates, you know, in the past. How they're actually using open, you know, open access through web services to share information to improve the customer proposition. And I think that raises some really interesting issues about, you know, which really goes back to Tony's point, about how airlines and airports work together. Doesn't mean we give everything away, absolutely not. They are absolutely, you know, there's some magic things that, you know, airlines absolutely will want to know and hang on about their customers. But there's some things that we could share in terms of, you know, passenger flows, in terms of volumes and changes that, you know, could make the passenger service work better, make airports and airlines work better together. And I think that's really a great thought. You're not giving it all away, but actually, if we were a bit less protective, you know, would it make the overall customer proposition better? Yeah, and you know, that's about collaboration. And David Bullman from Virgin Atlantic absolutely talked about mobile. He absolutely stressed the point, totally agree with this one, that, you know, the data, yeah, okay, social media is part of it, but it's much bigger than just social media. He talked about the cloud as well, and, you know, made that really important point, which you know, I think runs through a lot of this, which is don't think the wrong way. It's not a big fight about does the airport or the airline own the customer owns us. And we have to get out of this, thinking the wrong way, because if we don't, somebody else could move in, which was a discussion at the end. And then he talked about collaboration, about the bits that we could work together, and how we needed, to escape the straitjacket of GDSs in order to present the customers with the sort of options they want. Jim talked about SITA, where that was heading, put customer first, talked about the cloud, he talked about mobility. Guess what? He talked about collaboration. So, 3 solid hits there. And then Henry concluded the presentations, and I said what I believe, which is mobile will become the most important channel. Very strongly believe that. I think the point that already a quarter of our passengers have tablets, and that's growing, is a really, really strong point. He also made a very important point that a tablet isn't a smartphone. If you build the same app, it won't work. He emphasized the need for context, who, what, and where, and customizing, that customers expect to be in control. That's why self-service took off so well over the last decade, because customers love to be in charge, to serve themselves when they want to. And the ability to customize the information that comes to you, customize your experiences, is key. And then Henry finally talked about leveraging data to offer the right customized experience. So I think we got quite a lot of hits out of those, actually. So definitely cloud, big data, social media, mobile. But to make it work, we need some technical wizardry, which is the bit about the service orientation and web applications and the clever stuff that Jim was talking about. But also, we need the will to make it work. We need to decide, as an industry, where will it help our customers to collaborate? And as I said, I'm not advocating, the extreme end of, everything gets shared, because actually that's the competitive differentiation. But I do think we need to think more about joining up, to think more about collaboration, and that's clearly where Tony's coming from. So, this industry has always been about collaboration and competition. That's where we need to go. And I do passionately believe, that's where SITA comes in, because we're owned by the industry. And, we think, we can play a key role at the interface here in terms of joining things up, in being able to, we already have a lot of the information flows. We can work with other industry parties to make those industry flows available, put them on open interfaces, as Jim has talked about, and to be the honest broker that pulls the whole industry together. And that was one of the reasons, as well as having on our council the main airline customers, we set up an airports group and an IT providers group at yesterday's annual General Assembly to really act as an industry broker for this. So, final thought then. And I think somebody said, I think it was Jim, that Apple make it easy for the user. That's why Apple's such a success. That's why I can't pass an Apple store without wanting to go in and buy something. They're lovely products, and it is easy for the user. And that's what technology should be for. That's what we're there to be. We're there to make it easy for our customers to travel, to fly. And if we don't do that, our customers are going to get very fed up with us. So I think that's the real reason why we have to pull it all together. Anyway, thank you for being here. It's been a great discussion. I'd like to thank all our distinguished speakers. I think we had some great presentations. Thank Mark for wonderful facilitation again. And sorry it's the last time, Mark. And I'd just like also to thank Francesco and the SITA team for putting this on, and everybody up there and there for running this so well. Thank you very much, and see you next year.